Hi everyone, my name is Mikkel and I am a tourist. And I'm raising children to become tourists. You know, I even get paid to inspire people to be tourists. You are all tourists. Perhaps not all of you here today in Copenhagen, but we are all part of an industry that is now the fourth biggest export industry in the world. And we are so because technology has made it easier and faster and cheaper for us to look up and to book and buy our next holiday destination. So, as a tourism professional, I should be happy. Tourists are flocking in ever-growing numbers. New cruise lines, new airlines, new hotels, new investments. It should be a job well done, right? Not quite. The problem is, being a tourist today is to be a part of the problem. At a time where the top global priority, our global priority, is to combat climate change and achieve sustainability, tourists are basically making a bad situation worse. Everywhere, from our city centers to the wonders of the world, from the Mona Lisa to Mount Everest, is getting overcrowded because of us. CO2 emissions increase because of us. And now our natural habitats rapidly deteriorate before our eyes. So is it any surprise that many of us have experienced the spicy welcome in certain cities, greeted by graffiti messages saying, "Tourists go home," or "Tourism is terrorism"? You know, in 2018, over-tourism was among Oxford's dictionary's words of the year. I believe flight shame is a pretty strong candidate for the word of 2019. More and more, we feel shameful about being a tourist. Imagine if we could transform tourism into a force for good. A force that would help humanity on a faster track towards sustainability instead of being a force that would slow us all down. Imagine if your travel was not only about your personal enjoyment or even transformation into a better you, but instead was also about being part of something bigger. A movement of travelers for global sustainability. A movement with one purpose: to share and spread existing sustainable solutions across the world. A movement of change makers, moving, meeting, and matching sustainable solutions. People like you, him, her, myself, and the millions upon millions of tourists whose potential we are yet to unleash. I want us to begin that movement, together, starting today. For sure, we will never be able to achieve long-term worldwide sustainability without new scientific and technological innovations and massive investments in green solutions, for sure. But in the meantime, and there will always be a meantime, let's look at what we can do better with what we already have. There are many things that we cannot change alone, but how we inspire each other to use what we already have is entirely up to us. And the fact is that we already have millions of sustainable solutions and actions across the world, some small, some large, some modest, some ambitious. The problem is, they're secret to the many and known only to the few. Do you know, for instance, that in a small Danish town, Lemvig, used fishing nets that previously ended up in our oceans are now collected and later converted into fashionable furniture? Or do you know the Norwegian app where you can swap your used clothes, now available also in the UK? Or the Swedish movement that encourages joggers to collectively pick up trash while they're jogging? Just to mention some few small examples on sustainable solutions and actions from nearby. I'm sure you all know many more, each one of you, right? What if we, collectively, globally, could speed up the dissemination and implementation of all the millions of sustainable solutions and actions out there somewhere through the movement and meeting of people? Us. What impact could we make? Today, we make a global mistake. Let me explain. Today, we measure the success of tourism in hotel bookings and how much tourists spend in dollars or kroner at the destination they're visiting. and as destinations, we spend all our energy on attracting tourists and to seem attractive to them while they're here, so they leave again, minus their money. We let them go, they're off, and we are hooked on our next customer to our destination. And so it continues. We have very little focus, if any, on what our visitors have learned. You know, what inspiration they take back in their own overhead locker, and whether or not this inspiration will make them act differently at home. That's a global mistake. Because as a global community, we entirely miss out the transformative power of tourism. We're basically forgetting that the pages of history are covered in the stories of travelers. Tourists moving between places, bearing inspirations and innovations that have already transformed our world. You know, inventions like paper or gunpowder traveled from east to west with traders along the Silk Road. Missionaries have crisscrossed the globe for centuries, spreading their beliefs. And today, the urgency of climate change action is spreading with every footstep of the young activist Greta Thunberg. All right, Greta is special. She is fighting for protecting our planet, backed by her young generation. But ironically, at the same time, for the majority of her young generation, traveling and seeing our planet is the most important thing to spend money on. How does that make sense? Well, it does, because to this young generation, traveling is also about participation and contribution. In fact, more than 1 out of 3 of these young travelers wants to give back to local communities and do voluntary work when they travel. So, inspired by this, let us forget, just for a while, what tourists have in their pockets and delve deeper into what tourists really are. Humans. Because when we humans travel, something happens to us, right?6, we open up. We are ready for new inspiration, and we dare for more. You know, some will try a bungee jump for their first time. Others eat scorpions from street food stalls. I personally like to taste new beers from safe bottles. But most of us are ready to learn new stuff when we are away from our daily routines of grocery shopping and dishwashing. Surely that's the whole point of traveling. Another thing we do more when we travel, we communicate. You know it yourself. I mean, unless you've done something that you really don't want your boyfriend or mother to know, you don't keep your travel experience a secret. No. You shout about it, loud and proud. Post it on Instagram or WeChat. Things that you would never post on a regular Thursday, like being together with your boyfriend or mom, suddenly tells a greater story. Because you are away. You are a traveler. You know, we humans communicate when we travel because it reinforces our identity. Or we simply just show off. So, the potential of tourists as disseminators of new ideas somehow lies embedded in us. We are ready for new inspiration, and we are communicators. Now add one number to this. 1.4 billion. 1.4 billion is the number of tourist arrivals internationally last year. Imagine, just for a second, the collective impact we humans could make if we all commit to be inspired by and or communicate, let's say just one sustainable idea when we travel. All right, let's face facts. We won't have a 1.4 billion strong army of sustainable disseminators tomorrow. So the question is, how do we create a movement, a strong movement that goes beyond the young and convinced few? Well, here's my answer. We need locals and visitors to meet more, not less. We need people to meet to share ideas. We need millions of people to meet in order to share millions of sustainable ideas. Now that's a difficult task. Background, culture, language, time are the obvious barriers to success. So we need to work from both sides, from the side of the destination and from the side of the visitor. From the side of the destination, we have to engage tourists much more in our sustainable solutions, but also our challenges. So we create a space within which tourists can be inspired, and bring their inspiration to us. Now, we can inspire tourists on an overall level, like when Oslo brands the city as rubbish and shares sustainable solutions like saunas made from recycled materials or restaurants serving surplus food. Or we can set expectations higher and send a clear message to tourists that we expect you to behave in a sustainable manner. Like the Icelandic pledge, where tourists pledge to behave responsibly. Or the New Zealand Tiaki visitor promise to show kindness to locals and respect environment. Or we can go further and even mobilize the resources of tourists, and perhaps even asking them to come for a sustainable course. When the Faroe Islands welcomed 100 voluntary visitors to join locals to help protecting their green island. You know, all of this allows tourists to participate and leave with new inspiration for sustainable action. And that's great. But we can do more. We, the locals, should dare to invite tourists closer to us. Because as a local, you can make a difference by inviting a tourist into your everyday life and share your sustainable way of living. What you take for granted can become someone's sustainable souvenir. And through the eyes of an outsider, you might find inspiration to bring about change in your own life as well. All right, if you don't feel like doing it alone, perhaps you can inspire your local community to be more open to tourists. Like in the cold northern Norway, where they invite tourists for coffee breaks with locals. Or the community of the former Absalon Church at Vesterbro in Copenhagen, where locals are dining every day at long tables and where tourists are welcome. You know, it is around tables like these that ideas among locals and visitors are shared. I cannot possibly tell you what all these people are talking about. But I can tell you that I personally need a conversation with somebody in order to be really inspired and to really understand how, for instance, some people reuse coffee grounds to grow tasty mushrooms, or how trust is created locally among visitors and locals to, increase green mobility through hitchhiking. And I can also tell you that I, as a professional promoter of Copenhagen, will encourage more of these meetings. And so to speak, guide tourists towards the everyday Copenhagen instead of the touristic Copenhagen, where the likelihood of common inspiration is much lower. And what we all can do from the other side, being visitors, is simply to visit with a commitment to inspire and be inspired. Choose the sustainable way of visiting. And when you do, observe and reflect. Explore the different modes of biking, for instance. Take note of what makes a city bike friendly. Don't just go for the selfie. Go closer. Engage with locals. Try to be a temporary local. Dare to ride a bike like real locals. And if they're shouting at you, or when they're shouting at you because you cycle like an idiot, tell them that you are here to learn. Tell them that you are going for the inspiration you'll take back and share. Tell them that you have joined the movement of travelers for global sustainability. Because as a global community, we share an interest in stealing each other's sustainable ideas. And the faster we do it, the better. Because we're all locals somewhere and visitors elsewhere. We live and visit the same planet. You're all here today because you're seeking inspiration by ideas worth spreading. And for sure, you can get inspired by a TED Talk online. But there is something different and immensely more powerful in actually being here, physically present, for a live talk, feeling the audience reactions, the sounds, the smells, the networking during breaks. All the things that would have been lost to you watching this on YouTube later. You are here because by taking yourself out of your daily routine, you're exposing yourself to new perspectives and new ideas, as you do when you travel. Now, I'm here today because I believe we can and must do more, not only to the sustainability of tourism, but to the sustainability of our planet, by utilizing the transformative power of tourism and shaping it into a force for good. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not here to talk to you. I'm basically here to recruit you, so that when you move on to your next destination, will be packing your best sustainable idea together with your toothbrush. And that the fridge magnet you take home isn't just a memory of a place, but a reminder of your commitment to share, let's say, just one sustainable idea and to dare to act upon it. Today we share ideas, and tomorrow we travel. Thanks for listening.